Hey guys, today I want to do a little video on rezzers. So, the first place you normally want to use a rezzer is for either Dragon's B10 or TOA hard, or TOA normal if you're having problems in the higher floors. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little comparison against three of the rezzers that most people come across early in the game. One's not as much as early in the game as the other two, but normally people are talking about Michelle. They're talking about Mckean, and they're talking about Bryan. So those are the three rezzers that most people have. Now, there's another one as well, which is Platy, which is the Fire Mermaid, who I also think fits right in. I have not pulled one yet, so I can't show her. But we're going to talk about what these rezzers do, and we're going to try them out in a basic Dragons team that's a tower first team, because that's normally what you would try to do. So, Michelle, well, first up. So her first skill, it just attacks the enemy, 30% of the damage dealt, she recovers as HP, and her damage is according to her max HP. Her second one is Block Flow, is recover the HP of all allies and elongates the time of beneficial effects and shortens the time of harmful effects. So, what that means is if they got buffs on her, like from Mckean, so the defense and attack buff, that's normally 2 turns. So if Michelle goes after Mckean, she'd increase that to 3 turns on everyone. So that's very helpful to have. And also, if you have a dot on you or armor break on you, and you only have 1 turn left on that armor break, she'd remove that because it shortens that effect. Or if it had 2 turns, it reduces it down to 1 turn, so it come off faster. And then her res is recovers an ally with 20% of HP and recovers the ally's HP by 15% for 2 turns. So she reses the person at 25% health, and then each turn they get the little plus cross sign over their head, so they recover HP. So we're going to try her out first. So we're going to go ahead and go into this. And I just got to make sure when I log in here I change the... Let's see. I just got to change the boss battle. We're going to go to right crystal, then boss, and we're going to hit auto. So we're just going to go. Now, the nice thing about Michelle is she's very tanky, and she is a 3-star monster. So her skill ups aren't the easiest to get, and I would honestly not suggest building her unless you already have a Chloe and you've max skilled your Chloe. But she is a third option of Epicon Priest to me. Rena's making a comeback in Guardian Arena, but that's really about it. So let's see if no, she's not going to block flow. She's just going to keep attacking. So obviously my runes are pretty good to be running this team, because I'm not really in probably any danger of dying. Most people starting out, obviously your rune quality is not going to be this good. Your Bella's probably going to be under Swift. Your Veramos is probably going to be on Swift. Your Beretta's most likely to be on Despair. Mckean will be on Swift, and mine is as well. And Michelle might even be on Swift. So obviously I have 3 units on Violent versus Swift, which is just going to help. Now, for Michelle, I like 2 builds. Either like Swift or I like Violent. I think Violent's a stronger build, just for the fact that her res is 6 turns cooldown. So her res will come up faster if we have that. And in here, she's a wind monster. Zyros will be attacking her most of the time on this middle stage. So the nice thing about her is you want to have her high HP, so she does a little bit more damage on that first skill. She's actually pretty tanky. And you want most of your rezzers tanky anyways, but she has not used, I don't think she's used her heal once. But she's doing actually some, she's doing like 3,000 damage on her first skill non-armor break. There's 1,000 that wasn't a crit. But none of these teams are going to be super, super fast because they're all res teams. They all kill the crystal first. So they're all supposed to be a safer team. So again, we're going to attack that right crystal first because we're going to try to get all those dots on it. That's why we're using Mckean for too as well. Let's see if she uses her heal. Nope. So again, if you're using these teams as Swift, there's a block flow, so reduce some of the dots on them, so hopefully they're off before the dragon hits us. Now, the reason we kill this right crystal first is because we are trying to get rid of that immunity buff so we don't have to worry about removing it. Now, this potentially could be a face team, just for the fact that I brought Mckean and Beretta and Bella. So I get 2 buff removals in Mckean and Bella. So there we go. We lost Veramos, so we did get the revive there on him. So as you can see, he's got that little cross on him there, so that means that he is getting that HP recovery every single turn. So he just used that up. So it's not bad. We only lost 1 monster so far. Now, if you're just starting out, you probably don't want to run Beretta as the lead here. You probably want to run Veramos, just because you're going to probably need that extra HP to survive that little burst here at the end. Of course, Beretta would do that. Now, we are using... look at all those dots. He's going to be dead. Yep. So, Michelle was effective. She did her job. And that's what I wanted her to do. So that was a 3 minutes and 32 seconds. That's actually really good for a res team, but it's also because my runes are good. It has 0 speed. Of course it wouldn't. We're just going to go ahead and sell that. All the stats don't make sense on it. All right, so that was Michelle. We're going to take her out of there. So next up, we have Mckean. Now, Mckean's first skill is attacks all enemies with a small piece of ice, freezing a target so she runs a crit. Her second skill is attacks all enemies with a burst of water pillar, increases their chance of glancing hits for 2 turns with 50% chance. Additionally, this attack heals an ally with the lowest HP by 25%, so it's another little baby heal. And then her revive is revives a dead ally with 40% HP. And if the skill is used on yourself, you receive soul protection for 3 turns. So she can use her res on herself, and she won't die. So that's also pretty nice. So let's throw her in there. So it's the same setup. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to go for the Dragon's Right Tower and then Boss. But little on Mckean, there's really 3 rune builds you can go with for her. Like early starting out, again, you can definitely go Swift. That would definitely work just to get the initial speed. Then you could also go Despair, which I have mine on as well, which means she doesn't have to crit on the first skill to get that CC. The reason she can be Despair is because she does have a second turn AoE, so she will be attacking all units, so there is a chance that she could stun all units. So there we go, like the freeze didn't land, but she did get the stun. And then Violent would be the third one. Because her res is only 5 turns, and because her AoE is like, I think, 3 turns? Yes, 3 turns. She could just be going all the time. So that's a nice thing for her as well, is she could just be moving. Oh, this might hurt. Now, just as a little note, I prefer normally, if I'm like doing Dragon's runs, I normally attack the side crystals first, because if you lose a unit here, it's really annoying because that defense break. But we're going to kill Zyros pretty easily, it looks like right here. So I prefer to have her on Despair, because when I use her, which is rarely now, but I have her runed up for World Boss, but I will use her in TOA hard occasionally when the rezzer can't be wind. So I have another option there. And then occasionally using her in Guild Wars was Ramagos, because you don't want to bring a wind rezzer with Ramagos, because the whole point of Ramagos is to soak up all the damage. I know I'm one of the few people who use Ramagos, but I still find that pretty effective strategy. Alright, so she has a couple different options you can do with her. She is the hardest to build out of all of them because you need so many stats for her, and her base stats are so low. I believe she's got decent defense, but her HP is like 3,000. So it's pretty weak. That's the one problem I have with Beretta, is if you're targeting the towers, he will reset their attack bars. And it's really, really annoying when he does it, because it's like the thing's almost dead, and then he resets the attack bar. There's Mobilize. I think we should be in better shape here than we were before. Oh, he missed this. That's fine. Mckean's in no shape of dying. She can heal herself. But like I said with Mckean, you need to get some crit on her so she lands that freeze in the first. You need to get some accuracy so she actually puts the freeze on, and her glancing that she just got recently too. And she needs to have tons of HP so she stays alive, and a decent amount of defense. So she's very annoying to build because that's what we say. You can build her different ways. Mine's pretty well built. I mean, she does the job. I mean, 40% crit. She freezes actually quite a bit. And if I'm running her like with Ramagrowth, I don't really need her to freeze all the time, but she still does a pretty good amount. There we go. Got that defense buff back up, and yep, there's the heal. And we actually killed the left tower here too, which is nice. So let's see how long this run took. That was 324, so a little bit faster, but I also had to change the boss battle at the beginning of the fight and hit start. So it's probably about the same speed. So there's really no gain between those two. Then we're going to go back to a replay. So last up, we've got, where is he? I went past him, didn't I? Yep, Bryan. So Bryan's first skill is he disturbs HP recovery. His second skill, it's an AoE that decreases attack power by 75% chance, and it's proportionate to his max HP. So again, you want to have a lot of HP on him as well. And then his revive is revives a dead ally and evens out the HP ratio of all allies. So he doesn't just heal the person. Like, let's say your entire team is at like 50% health. So everyone's at 50%. Bryan reses, and everyone's going to go down to 40% because they lose about 10% each to get that other monster up to 40%. So he doesn't heal, he kind of just steals health from everyone else to just kind of even them out. So if everyone's at full, he might steal like 15% of everyone's health to even out everyone's health. So the nice thing is that if everyone's at full health, that person getting res is going to get up really high. The problem is if everyone's at really low health, that person who gets res is going to be res really, really low. So he's kind of easy to work around if you can get everyone's health low before he reses, but he's a very, very solid monster because he's got a lot of HP himself. So normally he's got a lot of HP left when he's resing, so he normally can get the other person up pretty high. Now, the main thing I like about Bryan is that second skill AoE with the attack break helps out a lot, especially in dragons here, because those crystals can do a lot of damage, but if they're attack broken, they don't really do that much. Also, HP recovery is nice, not in dragons, but in arena. And with Bryan, there's a couple builds you can do. You can do him violent if you really wanted to. I wouldn't suggest violent for him. I would suggest despair, because he's got that second skill AoE, so there's a chance he can just stun everyone. And he's pretty tanky, so chances are he's probably not going to die like at all. So it gives you that little bit extra. Like, there's the attack break on the crystal. I don't have to worry about that crystal doing any damage to me. Because it's just going to do so well. We stunned him anyways, but it's going to do so little damage, it's not even going to be a factor. But I prefer him on Despair. I know there's a bunch of people that like him on Violent, but for me, you want your Rezzer to have some utility, because you're bringing them to basically stay alive and try to keep everyone else alive. So if they have an AoE skill and they can stun everyone, and then everyone can't move, that's going to keep everyone alive as well. So then the downside is, if it's Violent, if he procs a lot, he could have his res up faster, but your goal shouldn't be to rely on your Rezzer Violent procking to keep your whole team alive. Your goal should be trying to keep your team alive and still trying to get some offense in. So if we're relying too much on our Rezzer trying to res all the time, it's not quite as good. So any Rezzer with an AoE, I prefer Despair. So that's why I have Mckean on Despair. That's why I have Bryan on Despair. So we're going to do the same thing with this one, going after that right tower first. Trying to get rid of that immunity. Even though apparently Beretta does not want me to. Now, with Bryan, he's got the most usefulness out of all three of them. Because his res is so good, because his base stats are so good, he is an at 4, but and because his res is so different in the fact that he doesn't actually just heal the person, he just evens everyone's health out, he will be the most usable out of everyone. So he's awesome in TOA hard, awesome in regular TOA if you need a rezzer, just because he'll never heal someone. So like, what could happen, and what does happen sometimes, is in like TOA hard, you bring something to tank a team, like the double Chroma Zyros. You bring a Dark Tank. So that's the only thing taking damage. So if you bring Bryan as your rezzer, if Bryan reses that one target, everyone else is at full HP, it's going to res that target really high HP. He's going to be able to take a couple hits from a Chroma and hopefully still be alive. But if you took Mckean, it'd only go to 40%. If you took Michelle, it'd only go to 25%. So chances are you could res and that target die right again, which we don't want to have happen. But I think that's what makes Bryan the strongest. But again, he's also a 4-star. So although Mckean is a 4-star as well, and we should win here. That's so many dots on the dragon. Yeah. Mckean's, let's see, I think Mckean's going to have my fastest run, and I think this took a little longer. Yep, 352. So Mckean was actually the strongest, which is kind of surprising. I didn't really expect that, but that's RNG for you. So let's just go over their runes real quick. So Mckean, these are her stats. So again, quite a bit of HP. She has okay defense. Her attack is really high, which makes no sense for her at all. I mean, she almost has 800 attack, which is really good. Again, speed's really slow. So I got some crit rate, I got some accuracy, and these are her runes. She has just Despair Focus, she has Speed, she has HP, and she has HP. Let's look at Michelle. So these are her stats. So again, she's got a lot of HP. She's got a little bit higher, actually a little lower defense, and same speed. She's got really good resistance unintentionally. I didn't really mean for that to happen. It just kind of happened with the runes that I put on her. And she also, her Awakened is resistant, so that also helps out. But these are her runes. She's Violent Energy. She is Speed. She is HP. And she is HP. Now, if you're wondering why I don't have this rune maxed, it's because I use her with, I don't have her out, but Neil. The original reason why I built Michelle was for that double Chroma stage, because if you use Neil, it's 2 turns of invincibility. Then Michelle elongates it to 3 turns of invincibility. So it's 3 turns, and then hopefully you get enough turns that you can keep that shield on the entire time that Chromas can't do any damage to your Dark Tank. So that's why I built her for originally. So that's why that rune isn't maxed, because it puts her like right behind. It puts her like basically directly right behind Neil. So Neil goes, and then Michelle goes right afterwards. And then we have, where's he? Bryan. So these are Bryan stats. The big thing with Bryan is I need more HP on him, but that's what he's got right now. I want him to go a little faster, but he's Despair Shield. He is Speed. He is HP. And he is HP. So I just want to show off some different rezzers in Dragons, so people can see kind of an idea. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Mckean's horrible. She's like one of the worst units ever. Michelle's terrible. Don't build her. Just wait for Bryan. Bryan's very good. If you pull Bryan, I would say absolutely go with Bryan. My problem was I did not pull Bryan until I think 4 or 5 months ago. And so I had no rezzer up until that point. So I was using Mckean because Mckean's a fusion. So if I go back out here, where is my fusions? So Mckean is very easy to get. She's a fusion. I would suggest if you absolutely need a rezzer, you go with either her or Michelle until you get Bryan. I 6-starred mine because I didn't have a rezzer. I had mine max skills. I had that many Undines. I kept summoning Undines. I did not use any Devilmon on her. So she is max skills. And what the nice thing about her is her res is in 5 turns. So she's actually the quickest rezzer, cooldown wise. So she's got the easiest cooldown, 40% res. So if you're desperate need of one, she's still viable. The problem is her stats are so low, you got to have some good runes to put on her. Michelle, a little bit better base stats, a little bit easier to build, a little bit worse of a res. But as you can see, she was still very effective in Dragon. So if you desperately need a rezzer, you can get away with one of those two. And then Bryan as well. And then the other one would be Platy. Let's see if I can find her here. Platy. This would be the other rezzer if you happen to pull her. I believe it's her second skill. Yeah, it's her second skill, which I believe goes down to a 6-turn cooldown. That's a res. She also has buff removal on her first skill, and that's also proportional to her max HP. And then her third skill stuns and prevents cooldowns, which is really, really annoying. So she's actually a solid unit as well. So if you pull a Platy or Bryan, I would build those two. But Mckean and Michelle are decent backups until then. So if it's maybe something you just like, I really need a rezzer, get one of these guys to 5-star until you pull a Bryan, so that way you have a rezzer. And then if you really like it, I mean, you can 6-star it. I mean, I did, but that's just because I needed the 2 units for something very specific. But you can keep them at 5-star. You can use them until you pull a Bryan or you pull a Platy. I think personally that those are the 2 better rezzers, but like I said, Mckean and Michelle still do their job and still do it pretty well. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.